Hi guys. So both of the questions for this week have to do with the I do, we do, you do approach, which Dr. Sobek talked about pretty extensively in her video lecture. So the first question is, why is the I do, we do, you do approach so important, particularly for its role in long-term and short-term memory for a student with a learning disability? And basically, what it seems like to me is I do, we do, you do approach is um, a type of direct instruction as opposed to an inquiry-based type of learning, which Dr. Sobek said was not a very good type of approach to use for students with learning disabilities because it can overwhelm the brain because the students not only have to memorize how to do something, but they're also trying to figure out how to do it themselves. And then if they can't figure out how to do whatever the inquiry-based learning task is, or if they think they know it but it's wrong, and they're spending multiple minutes um, working on something the wrong way, then they're not able to store any new information in their long-term memory, which is essentially the goal for learning anything. Like you want to get everything into the long-term memory. So the I do, we do, you do approach, because that's direct instruction. You're taking one chunk of smaller information and as a teacher, you're showing the students how to do it instead of having them figure it out for themselves. You're telling them explicitly how to do something, so it can be in their minds, and then you're repeating it by going over it with them again, but then being more interactive about it in the we do part. So like doing something and then saying, okay, class, like how do you do this? Or what do you think I'm gonna do next? And so on. Um, that is repetition for the student, and they're also getting a chance to practice it. And then the you do approach, um, or the you do part of the approach, when the student is trying to do it themselves, that's another um, additional repetition of learning the information, trying it out for themselves. So yeah, the I do, we do, you do approach is really good memory wise for a student with a learning disability because of so much repetition. Um, yeah. And then the second question, it wasn't as much of a question as much as like talking about some kind of lesson plan or some kind of skill and showing what you would do if you were doing the I do, we do, you do approach. Um, so if I was going to, for instance, I just taught a lesson plan about a week and a half ago on subject verb agreement in a high school English class. I was preparing the students to take the ACT. So if I was trying to gear that lesson towards teaching students with learning disabilities, um, what I would do is I had a PowerPoint lesson plan. So I would go through the PowerPoint lesson plan, but I would probably separate the information into different days, so smaller chunks of information, so that the student with the learning disability could absorb the information more in smaller amounts. It'd be easier for them. So I would go through whatever the lesson was for that day, whatever the new information was on the PowerPoint, and I would be very explicit and explain things in great detail. Um, and then after I went through all the information on that specific part of subject verb agreement, I would write sentences on the board that did not agree, did not have subject verb agreement, and I would do problems on the board and fix them myself and show the students how to fix those sentences. And then I would do a couple more sentences, but ask the students what they think that I should do, and work with them on the sentences. And then that would be the we do part. And then for the you do part, I would make some kind of handout, um, and give it to the students and have them work on it in class. And then at the end of class, I would go over each answer to make sure that the students know exactly how to do it. Um, and to make sure that they got all of their answers right. And if they didn't get an answer right, then they'll know what they did wrong, so how they can fix that next time. So, yeah, I think I answered everything. Thanks. Bye.